Look to your left, look to your right. 374 of the next 100,000 people you meet will commit a crime this year, and here's one of them now. She has committed the crime of never appearing on Tennis Podcast before this exact moment, and that's Amanda from the Live, Laugh, Larceny podcast. Amanda, how are you doing?
Hello, and yes, guilty as charged. I'm so glad I finally made it on here. I know my co-host has made an appearance on your show a couple times, right?
Trevin. Trevin was the kind of like the backup quarterback sort of thing. Like Amanda wasn't available, couldn't get her agent to get me in contact with her. So Trevin came on. He's the B team, but Trevin has been on twice. He was on, we did the top 10 most petty true crimes. And then most recently on episode 257, the top 10 most common reasons Americans get arrested. And even more recently was on your show, on your podcast.
Yes, it came out actually the day we're recording today. So yes, definitely check that out too. It was a fun one.
If you wanted further confirmation of how cool or uncool, depending on your perspective, Nick Emel is, that's the episode to listen to. It's the January 22nd episode of Live, Laugh, Larceny. And Amanda, since you and Trevin can't ever shut up about crime, we're going to stay on brand today. You're going to guess the top 10 states with the highest crime rates in America.
Ooh, okay. I feel a little bit more confident in that than I was.
What do you think I was going to do? Like the top 10, largest breed of specialized monkey or something? I don't know.
Honestly, Nick, I had no idea. I was just here for a great time.
Well, you might have come to the wrong show if that's what you were expecting, but I can at least promise you that we'll talk about a list, and that's what we're going to do. I pulled some data from World Population Review, usafacts.org, Wikipedia, and of course, our friends and listeners of the show at the FBI. Amanda, you are Kansas City, correct? Kansas City area?
Yes, I am. Mm-hmm. So Kansas City, Missouri. I know that a lot of people just think Kansas City's only in Kansas, but it's really in both, guys.
And how do you feel about the crime rate in Missouri? Let's talk about Missouri versus Kansas. Where do you think more crime happens?
That's a good question. I think that probably it's a little higher in Missouri, but I could be wrong.
And I will reveal that answer to you shortly. But before we get to that, I want to tell you a little bit of background about crime in America. So, and I know you're an expert, so just bear with me. I don't want to repeat anything you already know. But the FBI's Uniform Crime Reporting Program classifies violent crimes as those involving force or the threat of force. That would be murder, rape, robbery, aggravated assault. Those are violent crimes. Now, they have a second category called property crimes. That's without force or threat against the victim. Burglary, larceny, theft, motor vehicle theft, those are property crimes. We're going to talk about all of them today. And the FBI says that there's a lot of factors influencing what makes a specific state have a higher crime rate than others. Some of the factors they list are population stability, transportation systems and infrastructure, family dynamics, climate, which I thought was interesting. Like, places where the climate is shitty, you might have a higher crime rate.
Yeah, people are cranky.
Law enforcement strength, law enforcement strategies and focus, and more. Over 70% of violent crimes as of 2022 were aggravated assaults. And overall, the violent crime fell between 21 and 22. That's the most recent data I have is 2022. And crime rates as a whole in the entire country, if you look at all states, is 374 crimes for every 100,000 people, which is the stat I read at the top of the show. You look to your left, you look to your right. 374 crimes out of 100,000 people, which that's the crime rate. And in 2022, most recent data I have, crime rates were down 58% compared to 1979. So despite what you might hear, especially from some of our Republican leadership, crime rate is actually very much down compared to what it used to be.
I mean, that's reassuring. I'm happy to hear it. Because, you hear a lot of things about crime rates out there. So that's good to know. And also, when did you say compared to the 70s, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, wasn't that like the height of serial
Yes.
killers and all of that
The
craziness? So
70s into the
I'm
80s was
I'm
kinda like the
relieved.
serial killer heyday. That was when they had their, best that was their
Right.
prime years. And I've read a lot of information on theories on that. One is, like, the lead in the paint. Have you heard that theory? Like, the l that they put lead in
Oh, that's
paint and it
actually
caused people's brains to, like, not properly work. Yeah.
right. Wow, that's actually a very interesting one. I hadn't heard
Yeah.
of that before.
Well, all this data today comes from the FBI themselves. It's as of 2022. They do use partial population data to estimate crime outcomes for an entire population. So just want to put that out there. And again, the crime rate is the number of crimes per 100,000 people. The number one state on this list has the highest crime rate. And why don't we talk about Missouri? Since you already mentioned it,
Okay.
Missouri is on this list. Kansas is not. So you were right.
Oh.
Missouri is. Mhm. And do you have a thought on how high on this top 10 list it is?
I think that it's at the
Hmm.
bottom. I think it's gotta be after 5. I don't think it's top 5. But maybe like 6 or 7
Okay.
is kind of what I'm
Well,
feeling.
you are right and wrong because you're right. It's not in the top five. You're wrong that it's six or seven. It's number
Okay.
10. You barely made it in there.
Oh!
Missouri. If you had to guess, like, what would you point to in your home state of Missouri as like the reasons that it would have a higher crime rate than 40 of the other states?
So Kansas City, I feel like it's a little bit different than the rest of Missouri, in my opinion. Don't hate me for it, but, I've spent a lot of time down in the Ozark area and the lake down there. I guess the reason I assumed that is it seems like there's a lot of drinking and partying and a lot of rowdiness in Missouri that I was like, yeah, it's probably on the
And how do
list
you feel about
somewhere.
your big brother St. Louis compared to Kansas City?
Oh gosh, see, I'm not really familiar with St. Louis. I've only been there a couple of times, but I've heard that a lot of fights break out in downtown. Like, there's a lot of things you got to be careful about.
Well, one of our regulars on this show, Alex Johns, he lives in St. Louis right now. And what I'm hearing you say is that Alex Johns is starting bar fights every weekend night and getting arrested. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, if it sounds like a duck, you know?
Sounds like a duck. If it's smooth and sensual like a duck, it's a duck. Missouri. Our friends at do you say Missouri or Missouri? Is it like a hard you know what I'm saying?
Do people say Missouri?
Well,
Do
I
people
drew it
say
out a little
that? I
bit.
need to know.
Missouri. Missouri. No one says that?
No one says that around
Okay.
here.
We yeah.
Yes, I definitely call it just Missouri, but I know that's a thing in like every state, like Colorado or
Mhm.
Colorado,
Oregon,
it's
Oregon.
like
Those people can fuck
right.
right off. It's
Right. But
Oregon. Yeah, right?
yes, come
Yeah.
on. I like the simplest pronunciation of each state,
Mhm.
thank you.
And I think Missouri, they're called the Show Me State, and little did we know that meant
Mhm.
show me more crimes than all but 9 states in the country. They are number 10. So what state do you think joins Missouri in this top 10 list?
Oh, well, I definitely think that Florida is on this list. I also think that Illinois has to be on the list just because of Chicago. I'm trying to think what else. Texas, maybe?
These are all good guesses. I don't blame you for guessing them. I would have guessed them too. I would have guessed Florida probably number 1, honestly. But
Right.
they are not on this list. And I have to think now, if we were doing the top 10 most crime cities, like I'll bet Houston would be on there. I'll bet Miami might be on there, right? But we're talking about the state. These are all huge
Right.
states.
That's
Hmm.
true.
And
And it's like gauged around their
yes, it's
population,
per
right? Like by
100,000 people. It's a
population.
rate. So
So none of those are
No.
on
And I
there.
think, a lot of us think of Florida as one of the first ones because we always hear about, Florida man and stuff like that, Florida crimes. But a lot of that
Right.
is because they're they have different laws there that make it more accessible for that information. Not necessarily that there's more crimes than other places. Although if you are in
Oh.
Florida right now, fucking unsubscribe.
We're actually doing a Florida February on our show for the whole month, and it actually has been surprisingly a little more difficult for me to find the stories that I want
Mhm.
to tell from Florida. I thought it was going to be like the easiest task in the
Mhm.
universe.
You'd think
So,
so, yeah. I think we all have that conception. And Florida certainly doesn't do itself any favors when it's like in the news and things like that. But no, they're not on here. And neither is Texas. Texas is probably another one I would have guessed top five. Wait, you didn't say California. Sorry. What was the other one? Illinois.
is California not on there too?
California.
Cuz that's going to
California
shock
is
me.
number one for property crimes in particular, which are nonviolent crimes. But when you put the whole thing together
Oh.
and do the whole formula, California is not in the top 10. Listen, I'm going to say that the biggest hint I can give you is correlate like, and I hate to say this is going to make me sound like a jerk, but I'm saying facts. I'm not saying opinions. But think about like the states that typically rank highly on, or the states that rank poorly for education or income level.
Mm.
Those are the states that are kind of making up this list mostly.
So then maybe is like Kentucky, like
So what you're saying
Alabama, is
is
that where more of the
Kentucky and
crimes are?
Alabama are stupid, poor, and they're committing all kinds of crimes. Is that what you're saying? Can I quote you on that?
Don't come for me, don't quote me on that.
You're in the right headspace because I agree. Those places fucking suck. They're the worst. I agree with what you said, but they're not on here. So is there? We're kind of in the right. I know you all. If you're watching us on YouTube, Amanda's face of just shock is is is
Yeah, I can't control
yes.
my face,
But I
sorry
think when you hear
guys.
number one and
It's
two, you'll be like, oh yeah, those make sense.
okay, okay, okay. Gosh, okay, so over in that area, not
Nope.
Florida. Oh my
You do know
gosh.
the 50 states, right?
Could It's been a while since I've been in school, Nick,
Yeah.
but I'm pretty certain I know them, I
We'll find
think.
out.
What about
Arkansas.
Arkansas or
Okay, let's go with
Louisiana?
Arkansas first. Arkansas is here.
Okay.
So Missouri's 10. Where's Arkansas?
Ah, well, obviously it's higher than
Hmm.
Missouri. I'm gonna go maybe like number
You
5, right in the
sure?
middle.
You want to lock that guess in?
Sure.
Okay. If you get it wrong, you're never allowed back here again. Uh,
Oh, good Lord,
okay.
Nick. The
It's
pressure is
5. You
on.
got it. It's Arkansas.
Oh,
Yes, our neighbor.
wow.
They're neighbor because I'm in Oklahoma. You're in Missouri. We're both kind of in that Arkansas. Does Arkansas touch Missouri? Are they right under you?
Um, I believe it does. I actually just went to a lake in Arkansas over the summer and it was
Mm-hmm.
so beautiful. It wasn't that far. So I believe that it does
Yeah.
touch a little bit.
They're our next door neighbor
Um,
here
but
where I
yeah,
am. Yeah. So Arkansas is number
yeah.
5. They have a crime rate of 5,899 per 100,000 people. Again, the national average is 374. So that's, I don't know, way over 10 times the national crime rate. According to the CDC, at the National Center for Health Statistics, Arkansas has one of the highest death rates from firearms. Crime rates in the state are driven up by high concentrations of violence in some cities like Pine Bluff and Little Rock. Their violent crime rates are higher than the national average as well. So Arkansas just can't catch a break.
And also another state that has a lot of lake life
Yeah.
culture, which I'm not talking shit on, guys. I love the lake. I love going to the lake. I'm just saying a lot of accidents, a lot of fights, a lot of drinking can
Boat
happen. I don't know.
robberies, high speed boat
Right.
chases with the
Yes.
what
Right.
do you call the people that are
Exactly.
like on the like the water police? What are they called? The
Oh
uh
god. Uh no, I keep thinking like boat patrol, but
no.
that's not right.
What is that? What are they called? I can't think of what they're called, but everyone knows like there's people that ride around on boats in the lake to make sure you're not fucking around. And those
Yeah.
people are handing out lots of crime tickets in the lake. Yeah.
Apparently.
So you like the lake. Do you like to swim in the lake?
It
Yep.
depends on the lake. I mean, I know I said that I've been to the Ozarks a lot, but that lake is
Mhm.
disgusting, you guys. It is so disgusting. Don't
No.
go in
I
there.
totally agree with that. I've been to the Ozarks, it's pretty nasty. I It has to be a pretty good lake for me to get into it, you know? Like I don't I like being on the
Yes.
lake, like on a boat, or I'll walk in in the shallow part of the lake, but to submerge myself, it's got to be a pristine lake, friends.
Yes, the one in Arkansas that we went to, and the name is escaping me right now. It's like one of the
Table
most
Rock,
popular
maybe?
ones, but it
That's the one I go to. Yeah.
was it Tam but it had like pebbles on the bottom. It was very
Mhm.
clear and nice. That's the kind of
Yeah.
lakes that I
Me
like.
too. When your hand is like 1 centimeter under the water and you can't see it because the lake is not clear, I'm not getting in that.
No, I don't know what's in
You
there.
mentioned another state with Arkansas. What was that? Was that Louisiana? Okay, so is
Louisiana.
Louisiana higher or lower than Arkansas at 5?
See, I'm doing the thing again where I'm thinking of like the city within the state, and I'm thinking of, the shenanigans that go on. Yes, in New Orleans. So I could be wrong again, but I think that Louisiana, maybe it's number 9.
You put Arkansas above Louisiana, so I'm surprised by that. Louisiana is way up at number 2.
Oh my
Come on,
god.
New
Okay, I
Orleans?
was very far
Now, are
off.
you New Orleans or New Orleans or New Orleans? Where are you on that?
Like I said, I love an easy pronunciation, so I think I would just be New
Yeah.
Orleans. Just the laziest I can possibly say something, that's what I do.
You didn't know this would be like a fucking language episode, did you? Where I'm going to ask you how to pronounce every single thing you've ever said. I was in New Orleans last year, and there was a guy giving us an alligator tour on a boat. He's guiding a
Oh
tour in
my
a
gosh.
swamp tour, whatever you call that. And he was very,
Yes.
New Orleans sounding. And he called it New Orleans. New Orleans. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if that's, yeah.
It's almost like he added
Yeah,
a
there's a
whole
whole other,
'nother
yeah,
step
like,
in
why are we
there.
doing that? I don't know. Anyway, New Orleans, they have a crime rate of 6,408 per 100,000 people, and they are number
Oof.
1 in the country for homicides. Specifically, they have 5 times the national average for homicides in Louisiana.
Whoa.
You ever been?
Whoa. I actually
Mhm.
haven't, but I would love to go there sometime. I mean, now I'm a little
Yeah,
scared,
yeah.
but
Well,
I wonder why that is. Like, you hear all those scary stories about people getting killed and fed to the gators. And it's like, God, maybe that's really like a more common thing than you
I don't
think.
know.
I
I
don't
mean, it's a
know.
great way to get rid of a body. Not that I would know or have done that recently in New Orleans when I said I was there last year. But yeah, it's an interesting place because like it's great for true crime people. I know you're into true crime. So like I did a true crime tour
Yes.
and there's cemeteries and there's probably it's one of the best places to go in the country for history. Um, but much like I wouldn't get in a
Mm.
dirty lake, you kind of step onto the streets of New Orleans and you're like, eh. Yeah.
Right, right. The closest I've ever been to a situation like that is we went to Beale Street
Memphis,
in
right?
uh
Yeah.
yes, Memphis, Tennessee. And yeah, that was wild. And I think that's just a fraction of what happens in New
Yeah,
Orleans.
and I'm
So,
referring to, what's the famous street in New Orleans? God damn it.
is it
No,
King Street?
it's,
No.
everyone's yelling at me right now. It's like the street you go to if you're visiting New Orleans. I can't remember the name, but that's the one I'm talking about where
Yes, that one. The one. Come
yeah.
on, the one.
So, Louisiana, love you, but don't go there if you don't want to get murdered. Yeah. So,
Apparently.
Memphis, what state is that in, you think?
Tennessee.
Tennessee. Tennessee, interesting state. Wonder if it's on a top 10 list about something.
I feel like maybe by the way you just said that it
Oh.
is.
Oh, okay. Oh, I wasn't even trying to give a hint. I was just, like, talking about Tennessee. Now, do you say Tennessee or Tennessee?
Definitely just
Oh, okay, it's so
Tennessee.
weird. You put no flavor or pop on your word pronunciations.
I am starting to realize how boring I actually
Yeah.
am. This
It's
is
okay. You're
awful.
way better than Trevin, believe me. Jesus Christ. It's falling asleep talking to that guy. Tennessee. Amanda, where does Tennessee rank?
Whew. Oh gosh. Okay. So we've got our number 5 spot filled. We got number 2. We got our number 10. Um 3, 4?
I think Beale Street in Memphis is coloring your perspective because they're not that high. They're
Maybe it
number 8,
is.
Tennessee. Some of us say Tennessee, but we'll call it Tennessee for Amanda. Number 8 with 5,658 crimes per 100,000 people. And according to the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, they have one of the highest property crime rates in the country, and that's driven by the number of reported burglaries in Memphis and Shelby County. I don't know what the major city is in Shelby County, but
Mm.
we know where Memphis is.
Right. Okay, that's interesting. I guess I thought that maybe there'd be more, physical fight type crimes, but no, more about burglary
Yeah.
again.
And again, for those on YouTube, Amanda did raise her fist and lightly punch it forward as she talked about violent crime.
Pow!
Memphis, or yes, Memphis also has one of the highest violent crime rates for when we're talking about just cities in the country. They had an increase of 23% over the prior year compared to just 12% for the country as a whole. And they're also really high in Memphis for motor vehicle thefts or carjackings, which increased 13% compared to the
Mm,
prior year. So, Tennessee, they love their property crimes there.
apparently so. Don't bring any property to Tennessee.
Just show up with the clothes on your back, and even that might be too much.
And that might be it.
When you were
Yep.
in Memphis, did you go to Graceland?
I didn't. I was only there for I think we only were there for one night. So we barely got to see anything. But Nick, you bet your butt that we went to the Coyote Ugly
Oh
bar
my
on
god.
Beale Street and danced
Like
on
the
it.
one from the movie, right?
So, no, the one in the movie was the New York one, I believe. But they have a bunch of different ones, I guess now. And yeah,
Now,
it
when you
was
say
fun.
we danced on it, who's we? You and Trevin? You and you
Oh
and a
god,
homeless
no.
person?
Are you
You and
when No, I went with my husband, which I think we were just dating at the time, and my parents. And I believe he got on the bar with me, or maybe it was just me
maybe it
now
was you
that
and your
I'm thinking
parents.
about it, Nick. I did say we. It wasn't my parents, that's for certain.
Now I'm thinking about my parents dancing on a bar, and I it's kind of like that Black Mirror episode where your eyes are censored from seeing what's in front of you because like my mind won't let me see it. Do you know what I'm
Oh,
talking about?
yeah. It's
Yeah.
too traumatic. It needs to be pixelated.
Exactly. Oh my god. All right. So far, you have number 10 Missouri, 8 Tennessee, 5 Arkansas, and 2 Louisiana. So where else do you want to go next?
Well, I have to know if your home state of Oklahoma is on there.
It certainly is. And I'd like to know where you think my home state of Oklahoma is on the list.
I feel as though that maybe it's kind of high up there because you guys only have 2.3 beer there, right? Isn't that like a thing? Like you don't have the full percentage
Yeah, I
of
think I've heard
beer?
that. I don't know. I don't drink beer, but I think I've heard people bitch about that. Sure. We'll say yeah.
Yeah, I think people are probably
And
upset
so they're
about
committing
it.
a lot of crimes. Not because they're drunk, but because they're mad about not being drunk enough.
They
And
want to be drunk and they just desperately
yes,
can't.
I
Uh,
think you're onto something. I think it's also the piss poor education in this state that's probably not helping. Oklahoma is number 6. So not the top
mm.
5, but hey, we're still in the top 6. 5,870 crimes here per 100,000 people. Now, as a young man, Amanda, growing up in the
Mm-hmm.
suburbs of Tulsa, Oklahoma, along with Alex, who I mentioned earlier, some other regulars that listeners will recognize, Dr. Buster, Stephen Clark. We all grew up together in high school. We would commit property crimes, but not the crimes most people might think of. We would, well, in high school, we would at night sneak out and take furniture from one person's property and relocate it across the street to someone else's front lawn. And so they would wake up and be like, what are the fucking Johnsons doing with our, swinging patio bench? And we just thought it was the funniest shit of all time. And I'll quickly tell that. I think I've told the story once before, but we were doing this. It was like I was probably 17 or 18. Stephen Clark was there, and we did it to, I don't know, 50 houses that night. We just thought we were the funniest fucking things of all time.
50
Hey, we were
houses?
serious about it. But the next morning, a police officer shows up at my house, knocks the door. Turns out Stephen had dropped his wallet at one of the houses,
Oh,
and that person called the police. Police went to Stephen's house, and Stephen ratted my ass out, told him where I live. Can you believe this shit? I'm still not over it 20-something years later. Wait a minute. 15
well,
something.
I'm not over it now.
Can you believe that? First of all, who doesn't notice that their wallet's missing? He's not carrying a purse. It's in his back pocket. Like, you don't notice that your wallet's gone? And then secondly, cop shows up at your house. You say, officer, I was too drunk on the 2.3 beer. I don't remember who was there with me that night.
That 2.3 beer was really hitting hard last night, officer. So when you say you swapped the furniture, it was just the outdoor
of course. We
furniture,
didn't break at
right?
anyone's
Like
houses.
you weren't
No.
breaking in.
We weren't that naughty. But we, people will have like a lawn, like a front lawn chair, or like one of those, like a picnic table, or fucking plastic flamingos or something. You take those and you move them to the house across the street. And then
Wow.
the thought was these neighbors are going to wake up and start fist fighting because they're so mad at each other. But
right.
I don't think
that's what I'm
happened.
picturing. I could write a whole petty crime story about that experience.
I got a bunch for you. There was one. I'll tell you one more since we're talking about it. We when you take your trash out to like you in your house on trash night, you take your trash to the curb so that the next morning the trash people can come and dump it. Right. Well, we went out on trash night and rolled everyone's trash cans back up to the house.
Oh my
It's awful,
God.
But it's fucking funny, right? Come on.
It's the pettiest thing I've heard yet. And let me tell you, Nick, I've heard a lot of petty in my life, but that is actually, oh my God. Now, if I ever forget to put the trash out, I'm just going to tell my husband, like, well, you forgot it, and I went out there and I did it, but some kid must have been pulling a prank and
did
doing
I say
this
kid?
to
I
me.
meant I did this like last week.
No.
Yes.
Your neighbors probably
it's
hate
the thing
you.
where it's like we thought it was so funny at the time, but now if it happened to me, I'd be so fucking pissed. Which is the point. Yeah, that's
seriously.
the point.
Now that you're an adult, you're like, oh, where am I going to put all this trash?
It's amazing how much trash piles up, Amanda. No one told me growing up that.
Especially when you have kids.
Yes, I got kids as well. And the trash trash and laundry, those are like the two constant things in my life.
Oh, don't even get me started.
All right. I see I've triggered you. We're going to step away carefully from the subject of trash and laundry. And instead, I'd like you to tell me where you think human trash is living and committing crimes in one of these shitty, low-down states.
Good tie-in.
Alex Johns here, and I'm sure that, like me, you've planned your entire life around the Tinish podcast. Well, I'm here to tell you that life can be easier. You can actually know what the next month of Tinish podcast episodes will cover a full month in advance. Sign up for the free monthly email newsletter from Tinish Podcast, and you'll get just that. The exclusive first look at upcoming episode topics before anyone else. That means you no longer have to cancel plans to attend that wedding or attend your child's birth, all because you can't wait to refresh your podcast app and see what the new Tinish Podcast episode is about. Yep, you can know that sweet, sweet intel a full month in advance. Plus, newsletter subscribers also get Dr. Buster's exclusive blog, The Sidekick Corner, behind-the-scenes updates from Nick, discount codes on merch, and more. Add your email to the list now to get the next edition of the Tinish Podcast newsletter delivered right to your inbox and take your life back. Go to tinishpod.com/newsletter, enter your email address, and you're in. There's also a link below in the show notes. That's tinishpod.com/newsletter.
You know which one I haven't said yet is Nevada. Is that on there?
It's a good guess, but no. Yeah, surprising, right? The list surprised me a lot. But I looked at several sources. It comes straight from the FBI. And it's possible the FBI is compromised by Nevada, state authorities. I don't know.
They're like, come to Las Vegas. Yeah.
What's right next to Nevada, though?
Oh, gosh.
And wait, do you say Nevada or Nevada?
Oh, God. That's another good one. I just say Nevada. Nevada. I don't think I'm fancy enough to say it like that.
But
Thank you
I'm
for
not
that
either.
confirmation.
Okay. Hey, I went on your show to find out how fucking uncool I am. So,
hey, I have to say that was all Trevin.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, I told you he's the second choice for a reason. Yeah,
we can blame him.
What's right next to Nevada?
Is that Utah?
Well, that is there.
God, I'm bad at geography.
But that's not the one we're looking for.
Not Arizona, right? I bet you Arizona is on the list, though. Is it?
Arizona ranks, I think, highest or second highest for drug-related crimes in the country, but not on this list for overall crimes. Montana is not next to Nevada. I hope you know that, right?
My geography is all messed up.
Well, now you have me second guessing.
Okay,
is Montana next to Nevada?
Colorado?
Colorado is. Yes, but hang on. I need to look at a map because now I'm like, wait, does Montana touch
please.
The top of Nevada? Because maybe it does.
If you are at all swayed by what I said, then disregard. I am horrible at geography.
There is an entire state between Nevada and Montana, which is Idaho. Also not on the list.
Idaho, yes.
Quite the admission, Amanda, but don't need to get into your personal life here. Now, you did say, what did you say? Colorado is here.
Yes.
At what number, though?
Oh, man. What spots do we need to fill? Certainly it's not number 1.
9, 7, 4, 3, and 1. It is not number 1.
Is it
it's
7?
3.
Oh,
why is that?
Wow. I just simply don't know. Are people very cold in Colorado? Is this one of the weather ones?
Can affect crime. You always hear like Washington has the highest suicide rate in the country because it's like downcast all the time. Maybe in Colorado it's so cold people are like, I'm so cold I can't get warm. I gotta fucking murder somebody or steal a car to warm up. We should ask Steven, the guy who dropped the wallet. He's in Colorado. Maybe he never gave up the property crimes, right? And he's still doing it all these years later. Colorado's number 3. Well, actually, I just talked about property crime, but Colorado is number 1 in the country when looking only at nonviolent crimes. Interesting, right? Number 3 overall, number 1 for nonviolent crimes.
Wow.
I don't get it.
Okay. So people just want to commit all the crimes, but they don't want to hurt each other. I mean, I can respect it.
Yes. If they're stealing from the man, right? We can we're on board with that. Just don't hurt anyone.
Yes. Just don't
I thought
hurt
Colorado
people.
was super chill and like everyone was happy there. So I was kind of surprised to see it here. But
I'm very surprised too. Yeah, we have family out there. We go out to Denver a lot, and it seems like a really nice, state to be in, but
I love it
what
there,
do I know?
But it is too cold for me to live. Okay, so that's Colorado. There's more states touching our friends in Nevada. Well, one more state touching our friends in Nevada.
Okay, which ones did I say already?
So what I'm hearing is that this is the most forgettable state of all, because you went to Montana before a state that is right next to Oh, you know what? My fucking stupid ass is. This state is not touching Nevada. It also is a state away.
Oh,
Yes.
is it? Okay, I was like, I'm pulling up a state because what did
I was
I
thinking
forget?
of
Okay,
Arizona.
Colorado.
It's next to Arizona, which is next to Nevada. New
Oh, New
Mexico.
Mexico?
Come on, Breaking Bad. Of course they're high.
Okay, I know I love Breaking Bad, and I know that is some criminal behavior, but I would have never guessed New Mexico, honestly.
New Mexico is all the way at number 1.
Oh
Yes.
my
They are the
god!
number 1 highest crime rate state in the country with 6,462 crimes for every 100,000 people. And they have a higher than average crime rate across the board. So property, violent, non-violent, drug. But the good news is violent crime rates are declining. They're on the decline.
They better be at this point.
And when looking only at crime, they're number 3. So New Mexico, they got, and I went to New Mexico recently too, and it's a beautiful state. So it's a beautiful place to be. Great hiking and outdoor. I love the Southwest. I love like desertous, mountainous kind of places. But when you're in
Yeah.
like downtown Albuquerque, you definitely kind of, clench yourself a little tighter than usual, if you get what I'm saying.
I've never been to New Mexico. I really don't know a lot about it, honestly, but I am very shocked that that is
You
number
love Breaking
1.
Bad, you said?
I
You should
do.
go to Albuquerque because one of the reasons I went there was to see all the Breaking Bad sites. I saw
Did you
the
see the
house. I
house?
saw the chicken restaurant. I saw the car wash. Yep, I saw
No.
it all. It's a neat little
Oh,
road trip if any Breaking Bad
nice.
fans are ever in the area.
Yes. Oh my god. Yeah. My husband and I both like it, so
Yeah.
maybe one
There's
day.
also, that's New Mexico, the best place to go if you want a crime committed against you or some blue meth.
Or blue meth.
Okay. Well, all we need left is 4, 7, and 9.
4, 7, and 9. Well, let me take a look at my handy dandy map. And I'm gonna go with Washington,
Mm-hmm.
perhaps?
Perhaps is on here. It is number 7 on the top 10.
Oh,
5,000.
okay.
5,759 crimes for every 100,000 people, and it is number 1 in the nation for property crime specifically, 2.5 times the national average. I bet there's some great lawn furniture to move up there.
Oh, I bet you there is.
You been up to Washington?
I
Oh my
haven't.
God.
Apparently, I haven't been to enough
Where have you been besides Missouri?
I know, right? I've been to New York. I've
Okay.
been to Colorado, California, Nevada, Florida. I've been like to all
Corners.
the yeah, but I guess not enough. I still need to get out there more.
Yeah, I love Washington. Seattle's great, but it's not hard for me to believe that they'd have a high crime rate. Usually when you get those big urban
Right.
centers, it's like that. Although the biggest urban centers, New York and LA and Chicago, are not, those states are not on here. So go figure.
Right.
So what's right next to Washington?
Oh God. Oh God.
Oregon.
Oregon's. Oh, that's also
it's
on
number
there?
9. And look, and I love Oregon. I love Oregon. I love
Huh.
Portland. But I'm just going to say, if you ever go to Portland, you'll immediately be like, oh yeah, okay, they're on the top 10 list. I get it. It's just when I was there, and it wasn't
Okay.
long after COVID when they had like a bunch of those protests and stuff, and like there was all kinds of stuff going on. So
Right.
maybe it's different now because this was like 2021, but there was just graffiti everywhere, like homeless encampment
Dang.
everywhere. So unfortunately, when you have things like that, you're going to have a high crime rate. But Portland is an amazing city, and we loved our time there.
Okay. Well, shout
Yeah.
out Portland. I mean, every once in a while I like a good graffiti.
Interesting. I didn't expect to hear that.
So, we only have one
Yep.
left on here? And have we really even had anything in the Northeast?
No,
yet?
and there is nothing in the Northeast. I know. Amanda has been shocked so many times on this episode. You never knew you'd learn so
I'm
much
just
today,
like,
did you?
I've learned a ton, and now I'm like, well, Ooh, I do have a
Okay.
guess actually. If it's not in the Northeast, because that's where I was gonna guess like Maine or, something in that area. I mean, there's a lot of Stephen
Yes.
King books written up there, so I thought
The
maybe,
Northeast is actually the
perhaps, but
safest part of the country. And
wow! This is blowing my
we'll talk more
damn
about safe
mind.
states here in a minute, but let's go back. So I agree, Maine, Stephen King. That's on my to-do list is to go see some Stephen King sites up there. I'm a huge Stephen King
Yes.
fan. Have you done that? Have you been up to
Yes.
Maine?
I
No. Ask
Nope,
me if
that's
I'm
another one.
surprised.
I've been
Everyone
to
take
New
a drink of
York.
your 2.3 beer.
Yeah. Yeah, no, yes, please do. No, I think I've been to North Carolina, Virginia, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, but really the only place up there I've been is
Mhm.
New York. So definitely, I want to go out to Vermont sometime. I think
Yeah.
that would be pretty.
Well, you just mentioned
But
on accident one of the states, not Vermont, but before that, you were listing states you've been to, and one of them is number 4.
is it
You
South
nailed it. How'd you know
Carolina?
it was that one?
Well, I loved going out to South Carolina, but Myrtle Beach
Yeah.
they had a amazing boardwalk, but again, a lot to do, a lot of tourism goes there. I could just see a lot of
You're
crime
right. They're
happening.
number 4 with 5,973 crimes per 100,000 people. And I've been to South Carolina for like a day. I've driven through there a couple times. I haven't spent a ton of time there, but everything I hear is it's lovely, but it gets hot. And maybe the other we talked
Yeah.
about people in Colorado being so cold they start murdering people. Maybe in South Carolina they're so hot they just can't take it. They got to murder someone.
Yeah, they're just so hot. They're hopped up on sweet tea, which no judgment. I have
Mm.
sweet tea right here. But, maybe the sun and the tea and it just
It's
creates a
just a
bad
soup for
environment, I
crime,
guess.
is what. Yeah, I think you're right. And no North Carolina though. So North Carolina's little brother, South Carolina. I'm sure they love being called that, but they're on the list. And in fact, you've done all top 10, and here they are: number 10, Missouri, your home state; number 9, Oregon;
Mhm.
number 8, Tennessee; number 7, Washington; number 6, my home, Oklahoma; number 5, Arkansas; number 4, South Carolina; number 3, Colorado; number 2, Louisiana; and number 1, by a healthy margin, New Mexico.
Wow, wow,
But I have an
wow.
honorable mention for you.
Oh, do
Washington,
tell.
D.C. is not a state. But if it was a state, that would be the real number 1. Yeah.
Oh, hey, that's actually a place
You
I've been to,
have?
Nick. I've been to
Now, are you just
Washington,
saying that
D.C.
because now you're
Yes.
embarrassed and so you're lying? Or have you really been there?
No, I have photographic
Okay.
evidence. I can prove it. I saw all the sites, all the monuments
Yes.
there. But
Yes, I love
really?
DC. I used to go all the time for work, so I've been there, I don't know, 20 times. And I love the city, but there's some, dark alleyways you want to avoid out there. But they have a crime rate of just under 8,000. And for reminder, New Mexico's crime rate was 6,400. 6,400 minus 8,000. So Washington
Holy
D.C. actually
crap.
way up at, it would be number 1 if we were including it. Did you feel unsafe when
Wow.
you were there in Washington D.C.?
No, that's why I'm like, what? I feel like it was like constant traffic, people just driving and driving and driving or walking and
So much
walking.
tourism
Like
there.
and again, maybe that's why too. People get stressed out when they travel. I don't know, but I never felt
Yeah,
unsafe.
I think you and I are probably in like heavily touristy areas. Like
Yes,
when you go to a touristy part of a city, it can be deceiving for what like the everyday
true.
person experiences there. But I want to quickly talk about, and we're not going to spend as much time on this. We'll just go through them quickly. But I want to tell you the top 10 safest states.
Please do. Where do we need to
And
move?
let's see, one, two, three, four, 5, 6, 7 of the 10 are in the Northeast.
No way. That is so weird to me because you hear all the time. Well, at least I do. Like, oh, they're from nice
Mm-hmm.
Midwest town, blah blah blah. But if you go up north to the city folk, they're all cussing and honking at
Mm-hmm.
you, and I'm
That's what
just
you hear.
surprised.
And New York City has a high crime rate for as far as cities go, but their
Mm.
crime rate is dropping faster than the national average is dropping. So they're doing
Wow.
something right. But the top 10 safest cities, here we go. We'll start at 10. It's actually New York. New York State is the 10th safest city in the country. And when I say safe, I
Hmm.
just mean the lowest crime rates. 9 is
Mhm.
West Virginia. 8 is Virginia. 7 is Rhode Island. 6 is Vermont. 5 is New Jersey. That's surprising. I've never met anyone good from New Jersey.
I
Yeah.
am surprised as a Housewives fan that watches The Real Housewives of New
Well,
Jersey,
plus
I'm
The
shocked.
Sopranos is New Jersey.
The
Yeah.
Sopranos, yes, I love The
So
Sopranos.
surprised by that. Number 4 is Idaho. Number 3, and we learned earlier that Idaho, but I also am Daho. Number 3 is Maine. You thought it was one of the highest crime rate cities, but it's actually the third safest. Yeah.
Yeah. Again,
Number
another
2 surprises
shocker.
me at first, but then you consider Massachusetts. It surprises me because like Boston's there, but the bigger the city, higher chance of crime. But Massachusetts is also, I think, the first or second highest income state in the country and most educated
Mm,
as far as like the most people have an advanced degree. So I think it's not a perfect correlation, but I think more often than not, the correlation between social class, that kind of dictates the
mhm.
crime rate, unfortunately. And there's a lot of factors for that we don't need to get into. And the number one lowest
Totally.
crime rate state, and I'll remind you, let's look at Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. has a crime rate of 7,000, well, I'll round it, 7,900. Okay. Number
Okay.
one has a crime rate of 2,300. So what is that? Like maybe a little less than a third? New Hampshire.
Oh, okay, New
New Hampshire.
Hampshire.
Let's all move to New Hampshire.
Doing it
Yeah.
right.
New Hampshire is such a quaint little place. I like New Hampshire a lot. I'm going to guess you've never
Yeah,
been.
I'm trying to I've never been. I never have. I need to travel up to these safer
Yes, you're
places.
hanging out in you're in South Carolina and Colorado and Missouri,
I
Tennessee.
know. Living here in Missouri, like what am I
You're doing it
doing?
wrong. Well, it's a good thing you cover petty crimes on your show because you're living somewhere where you can see it all firsthand. And I think that's a
Absolutely.
perfect segue for you to tell the listeners more about your podcast.
Yes. So, our podcast, I am one of the co hosts, as we said. Trevin is the other half of the show, and it is Live, Laugh, Larceny. You can find it literally on any platform, but we are a true petty crime podcast. We're coming back with Florida February. We're starting off strong. We have some hilarious Florida crimes. And yeah, you can follow us on Instagram. We are starting to put ourselves more out on YouTube. If TikTok
God
stays or
damn, who
goes or
knows?
whatever. What
What a shit show.
You can follow us anywhere, really. We just have a really good time.
First of all, Live, Laugh, Larceny. I will put a link in the show notes to everything Amanda just shared, their website, their socials. You should listen to it. Not only was I on the podcast recently, but every time I listen to that show, I laugh out loud because Amanda and Trevin will share a story, a true story of a petty crime, but they'll make it super dramatic with background music, and it's a big production. Trevin does the editing on that, and he does a great job. So there's no other podcast like it in the space. I hope everyone will check it out.
Yes, thank you so much, Nick. My
And
gosh.
Amanda, I appreciate you being here. And listeners, I appreciate you listening, except you, Florida. And if you are, if you have any thoughts on today's list, if you live in one of the highest crime rate states or the lowest crime rate states, let me know. Hit me up on our social. We can be found on Instagram and TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, everywhere at 10ish Pod. There's links to those in the show notes as well. If you're listening to me now early and ad free on 10ish Pod Plus, you can also talk to me directly on our private Discord channel and let me know what you thought of this episode. Amanda, do you have any last words? Any advice? Any parting wisdom for our listeners?
I mean, apparently, we all need to move to the Northeast, and I just hope everyone stays safe
Yeah,
out
it's
there. A
dangerous.
lot of crime.
A lot of
It's
kids
dangerous
taking your
out
lawn
there.
furniture. If you're moving lawn furniture around for a harmless high school prank, check your wallet. Make sure it's in your pocket.
That is honestly the best advice anyone
I want everyone
could
to take
ever
out a pen and
say.
pen. Write that down. They say you remember things better when you physically write things down. So write it down. Amanda's writing it. Do it. And don't rat your friends out. I'm calling Steven after this. I'm still worked up about it.
Snitches get stitches, Steven.
All right. She's Amanda. I'm Nick. Thanks, everybody. I'll see you next week.